Sanders, where are you? I swear to God.
Oh, you're going to be a waterfall.
I got Solberger.
You're going to be a waterfall here.
Solberger's running over. If one tear comes down and you laugh, we're going. You don't have your Cincinnati buddies to protect you. Wow. All right. Seriously, can everyone hear me all right? I mean, when I was back there, it was a little soft. But let's get one thing clear. 34, 6 months and some odd change, should round up to 35. I just want to note that, right? 35 years of service. So, today is my last speech in uniform and the last speech I'll ever do, so.
Yeah.
I only wanted one to do it, but not everybody, so. So this is going to be long, and you're asking, how long is it going to be? Well, it's going to be 35 years long. So, I may swear a little bit, so I apologize right off the bat. You know, this is my retirement ceremony, and right off the bat, I did want this to make sure that this is clear. I want this to be non-traditional. If you have a comment, I know I'm open to the door to this group right over here, friends, family, soldiers that know me, I want you to speak up. If I miss something, I want you to just, at the end, I've got a small part that goes, no, Solberger, throw him out. So, but seriously, speak freely, blurt out something of a story. If you want me to comment on it, I really want all of this to be that way. A lot of that might be the reason why I was a successful recruiter. You know, it's hard to go from a certain soldier atmosphere of 11B and 19 Delta to then go to recruiting, where you go to an event and you're talking to a kid, and even after he joins, it's, hey man, hey dude, everything's good, you know? I mean, you have to learn how to understand that, but then it changes at RSP drill weekend. So you have to learn how to shut that off. Okay, turning it on. Again, speaking of non-traditional, again, I apologize, but I have to do this. All right. Before I forget, because again, I'll talk and think, oh man, I forgot to do that. So, all right. So, first thing is, let's define the word crying. I want to make sure it's clear today. So if I do a little like this, but I talk through it, and that is not crying for Sergeant Sanders. Crying is when I cannot talk and I have to step away and tears are just pouring down my face. So are we clear on the definition of crying?
Crystal.
Good. And again, I apologize if I miss someone today when I go through this whole thing. So the recruiting command, Major France, I just want to say, seriously, thank you very much for making this happen, sir. This moment means a lot. And a lot of people from talking to past soldiers, some that are in this room, they didn't get this moment. And it's a closure. So I need you to understand that, like, that ability to just close the door of your military career helps, because when you don't get that and it's just shut off and you're pushed aside and your replacement comes in and then it's just this, you literally feel worthless. You literally feel like your time wasn't worth it. And so I do understand why soldiers struggle. So please, if there's commanders or leadership in this room, or if you ever become a leader, you know, I was talking to Major Odell about it, and he said, I'm already implementing that, and I'm going to recognize soldiers. Even if you don't like the soldier or this and that, you don't feel whatever, they did their time, they worked here for you, they wore that uniform, and they deserve at least a recognition, a pat on the back, a plaque of some sort. So seriously, sir, take this into consideration, and I hope that it continues on in recruiting command to recognize people. It's very important. Obviously, I want to thank my family, my mom and dad. My dad passed away about 6 years ago. I know he's smiling. You know, the kids. No, I got you, Sandra. I wasn't crying. So listen, my kids, I do want to say thank you very much. Everything that I did, things that I missed, I apologize. I did it for you. I did it for the family. And so, and embarrassing you guys at Jackson Cross Country Camp, just so you guys know, and I have another past Jackson Cross Country runner here. So, you know, I go down and I do boot camps with the Jackson Cross Country team, and because I recruited for the school, and it was full-blown screaming at 5 in the morning, waking up 200 runners to come work out, and it was a great program. Well, during Taylor's years, it wasn't cool because she's the one that had to go back to her bunk later afterwards, and everyone's like, you know, F your dad, and that sucked, and I hate him, and all this stuff, and she's like, okay, he's my dad. So she didn't like run up to me and, oh my God, that's so cool. Now Drew was different. Like his buddies were like, oh, that's badass, that's awesome. They'd all come running over, and he'd be standing like, yeah, that's my dad. Yeah, this is great. So I apologize if I embarrassed you guys wearing this uniform throughout that time. And Gene, you know. Damn you. So there's a picture of us at Fort Knox in 1987. She came down and visited me, and we were just dating, and it was an awesome picture. And I'm glad my mom and dad took it, and I'm glad my mom and dad brought you down. So, God, I thought someone was bringing me Kleenex. No. All right, that's one. I'll give you one. All right, that's one. On to the next card. So yeah, so I had two careers. My first 17 years as M-Day soldier, and it was fun. It was awesome. Drill weekends were great. We would go out in the field, we would kick ass, and at the end of the day, we'd get some beer, and we'd sit in the barracks and be guys, and it was awesome. And the leadership would make sure we didn't have too many beers, and we controlled it. And it was nice for the platoon sergeant to come over and say, hey, I want to thank you guys for everything you did out in the field, celebrate a beer, one beer, whatever, and it was great. That's the old day of doing things. We used to go out to Camp Grayling, and it was some of the funnest, most badass times that I ever experienced. The training was awesome back then, even though we didn't have money. You know, in 87, or in 80s and 90s, everyone knows, the Guard was the National Guard. You don't do nothing. You just sit around and drink beer and play cards. Yes, that is what we did. But there were a lot of times with the leadership that would say, hey, let's do some hip pocket training and go out in the woods and go do some fun stuff. We did that too. And it was awesome. And that camaraderie, that understanding of other soldiers is what made me fall in love with this uniform. I only joined for one reason, free college. So the God and country thing came later, but I joined for the free college. I was going to get my degree, and 6 years later I'm out, and during that time life changes, right? You get married, you have an unexpected visitor 9 months later, and that changes your life for the better, you know. So I stayed in and stayed in and stayed in, and here I am this many years later. My very first drill in Canton, they had, just so everyone knows, they got rid of the Jeeps just recently when I got in. So the Army had all the good stuff, and the National Guard got all the hand-me-downs of everything. And it was cool, but it was terrible, because we'd get all these prior service guys that would come in, and they would be like, what the hell is that? I'm like, it's called a Prick 77 radio. They're like, what is it? I'm like, it's a radio. They're like, no, we use SINGARs on active duty. I'm like, what the hell is SINGARs? And so we would go back and forth on stuff, and so the Guard just used to be that way. Later on, I did pull a 2-week annual training. We pulled security at the Olympics down in Atlanta, and that was awesome. Really cool things I got to see and everything when I was down there. And then 9/11 happened, and that's when my life changed. And it was a couple think, that we got our orders to go to Fort Knox. We still didn't know what was going on, and we're watching television, you know, the retaliation, everything that was going on. We're thinking we're going overseas, we're going to go fight, you know, go to Afghanistan and go find Osama bin Laden and all this stuff, and they stationed us in Detroit, Michigan, outside of Detroit, Michigan for a Homeland Security mission for 1 year. But as much, I always take the bad into a good, and that was where I got to become really, really great friends with great people. And that was an awesome year. So that changed my life. So that was the day that I said, I want to wear this uniform full time. I don't want to be part-time anymore. I want to do it full-time now, later in my life. And so I started coming up here to apply for jobs. My first 3 or 4 jobs I applied for were supply sergeant. You know, I was an E6, I was trying for supply. Every board I went into, you know, they already had somebody pre-selected. Oh, you did really good. Oh, did I get the job? No, you didn't get the job. You did really good on the board. So that's when I ran into Sergeant Major Hunt and Sergeant Carpenter, who were recruiters at the time. And we've known each other forever. I enlisted in February of '87, and Sergeant Major Hunt enlisted in January of '87. We were in the same unit together and things like that. And we were just, you know, he was in the nice cushy office while I was out getting muddy out in the field and everything. So, but the history of everything goes back around. But they both talked me into trying for a recruiter. I'm like, no way am I going to do recruiting. This is crazy. Why would I, you know, I envision, just like most of you here, it's a used car salesman. You'll never make it. It's horrible. It's all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God. So I boarded a few times, didn't get it, and then I got one. And my first job assignment was in Youngstown. So I didn't know if I wanted to be a recruiter, but I'm not gonna lie to you. It is, if I could go back into time, knowing everything I know right now and what I experienced, I wouldn't change one damn thing. Not one. I am so blessed to have experienced everything that I did as a 79 Tango. Oh man. All right, so I only got about 18 more cards, so hold on here. Bear with me, guys. So listen, so 79 Tango, there are many recruiters in this room right now, past and present. It is a thankless job. It is a hard job. It is the research 79 Tango, if you don't know anything about recruiting, and it is labeled as one of the most stressful, hardest jobs in the military, in the Army, and it is 95% of your day is negative. Your appointment canceled, your guy said something up met, so he didn't get to join today, he this and that, all this stuff. It is negative, negative, negative. And all I can tell you is the main thing that made it worth everything were the relationships that we had with our recruits. So, you know, I have, where is she? How many years? 17 right now? Yeah, I know you too. I'm going to bring you up too. So, Vanessa, Starr, Reed, now Danakis. I enlisted her 16 and a half years ago, and Sergeant First Class Danakis is kicking ass and going to do this for another 3.5 years and go retire, which her husband is also in the military as well. And I still remember the young 17-year-old girl enlisting who now has 3 children and married, and, you know, she did all that, but I just wonder if I didn't cross paths with her, what would have happened, you know? So that's the biggest thing with 79 Tango is the relationships we've had with everything. So, bear with me. I swear it's going to go a little faster. So I'm going to make a little bit of funny, and I need the command team to understand these next 2 topics I want to talk about. It's more for, this is my last podium and my last ability to make a recommendation and advice, because I'm going to be gone after this, and you are the future. So I still remember after 5 years of service and enlisting 140 people in that 5 years, I got called up on the stage for this recruiting battalion longevity award of 5 years. Okay, so it was nice to get recognized. And Starr Youngdahl, the way I interpret it. So again, everything I'm telling you is the way I interpret things. This is the way I interpret it. So for 5 years, 140 enlistments, Starr Youngdahl, thank you so much. We appreciate your service. So then my 10-year comes, and it was misspelled, and then my name was misspelled, and then it was never given back to me after they fixed it, if they fixed it. So I don't have the 10-year. And I go, at the 10-year mark, it was the, hey, Starr Youngdahl, we appreciate your 10 years of service. However, and we know you want to get into management and leadership. However, you're 28th on the promotion list out of 30, and you're not going to be able to make it this year. But hey, I do appreciate your 10 years of service with that plaque that we misspelled your name on. And then the 15-year came up, and the 15-year, First Sergeant Porter tossed it to me in the office. That was my presentation, and I said, "What's this?" And he goes, "Oh, it's the 10-year." Now it was this same plaque, but it was a little bit bigger for 15 years. And basically, the way I interpreted it was, "Hey, Starr Youngdahl, I know you want to get promoted, so we're going to give you this new position called a small company NCOIC." And a small company NCOIC basically is you're not going to get promoted, so you're going to have the same responsibilities as those E8s over there, but you're not going to get paid for it. But hey, we appreciate your 15 years of service, and here you go with your 15-year plaque. And the point that I'm trying to say is, sir and the command team, you had nothing to do with that. Meaning, you didn't invent the program of longevity award. And I don't even know if it still is in existence. But sir, I really highly recommend continuing something like this, but just these great recruiters need to be recognized for their hard work and dedication, not only on their number. They need to be understood that they worked their asses off for you for that year, whether they made mission or not. And if they did it for 5 years, they need to be recognized, I think, with something a little bit more, something more appreciative than just a piece of plastic that still has the 25-cent thing on the bottom of it from a trophy company down in Columbus. So all I'm saying is you're smart, your recruiters are smart. Please take care of them. They deserve everything that they possibly deserve for their hard work and dedication. And before I get into the thankful part, so there was, I would like to thank Mitchell Teague for his service in the Ohio National Guard. And Mitchell Teague, this is my experience. So Mitchell Teague was my soldier, and he committed suicide 2 years ago. And again, command team, this is not, you did not do this. This is what happened to me, but my experience was there was a great memorial ceremony right here, and I do think that was awesome, and I think that was great. We recognized the soldier, our soldier, but what happened was a couple weeks later to Sergeant Youngdahl was I was told we need to move on and continue work. And I understand that. That is part of wearing this uniform and do that. But a couple weeks after that, at a meeting that I had to present numbers, and my company didn't have any enlistments that month, and I told the command we didn't have no enlistments, and I was told that we need to not be able to use that as an excuse anymore for not making our number. And that was pretty much the last thing that me and Sergeant Kester and Sergeant Hutton and Sergeant Perez and Sergeant Gillum and Sergeant Brown and Sergeant Signer and Sergeant Keck and Sergeant Hale had to experience. We almost had to shut everything off due to that fact. And it was wrong. And I still struggle I know Sergeant Kester, Sergeant Hutton, all of them still struggle. We have not had a day of healing, and my counselor helped me out with a lot of understanding that it wasn't my fault. I still don't think she understood, but he was still my soldier. And the thing I would like to ask the command team to consider is making June 10th a suicide awareness day for the recruiting command in honor of Mitchell Teague. And dedicate that day to him as he deserves. All right, people I want to thank. The early on people, I want to thank you guys so much. These are 80s, 90s people, so a lot of them aren't here, but my first two platoon sergeants was Bill Blackburn and Jim Faree. They were awesome leaders. They knew exactly how to handle us Rebel 19 Deltas. We were terrible garrison soldiers, but my God, when we got out in the field, we kicked ass. Paul Boak, right there, Lieutenant Colonel Boak, retired. I can't thank you enough. So, Cadet Boak got to meet Private E2 Youngdahl, very first AT, and said, "You, grab your radio, we're going on a mission." And I said, "Roger that." I understood he was a cadet, but I looked at him as an officer. We grabbed the radio, the mission was already happening, and me and him were in the back, and he and I ran 3 miles through woods while he was holding his compass to get to our location where the battlefield was. We get to the battlefield, and we're off on the side, hiding underneath a tree, and I'm experiencing this whole thing wearing this radio, and next thing you know, there's a Cobra helicopter directly above us, and they didn't see us, and he called for fire on every location where the enemy was. Our guys were back here and didn't know what was coming, and of course, being scouts, we went and scouted them out, we called for fire, and we annihilated the entire battlefield. When it was over, this big, I don't know if he was a colonel or higher, but he walked up like, "Who the hell was out in the woods calling in for fire and stuff?" And this young cadet was like, "That was me, sir, me and Sergeant Young, or Private Youngdahl." And if you remember, like, they honored us. They were like, "That, you guys are awesome. You annihilated us and beat us." And they pointed out that you two soldiers, which is the reason why you understand, if you're one soldier and you think, "I'm just a recruiter, I don't make a difference," bullshit. You do make a difference. And what we did that day was awesome. Thank you very much for teaching me at a very young age that training, it can happen, and fun can happen, and success can happen just by trying. So thank you very much, sir. So Bill Blackburn, our first platoon sergeant, he passed away a few years back, and he used to entertain us in the barracks by being in his underwear and and we'd start singing the Rock Lobster song, and he'd sit there and start dancing around, and he was from Vietnam. He was from Vietnam.
March.
Yeah, and he was 6'6", but one of the greatest dudes ever. Moving on to the next level was Mike Cugini, Ed Swigert, Tom Nicodemus, and of course my homeboys Dave Solberger and Teddy Kester. We had so much fun in this uniform back in the day, and we were the same way. We weren't garrison soldiers, but my God, when we got in the training field, we beat everyone's ass, and they couldn't understand how the heck we were so undisciplined in garrison, but out in the field, we were the absolute, just best of the best out there. Then moving on into recruiting, again, without Sergeant Carpenter, Sergeant Major Hutt, I wouldn't be here. They were the ones that pushed me. "Jim, you gotta get into recruiting. Recruiting is better than what you're saying or thinking. It's an awesome job. Come work for us. Let's do this, make it happen." And even though the boards that I didn't make to get the job, they kept saying, "Keep trying, man." They kept putting in the good words for me to the higher ups, and they listened. And if it wasn't for you guys, or if you wouldn't have just taken that moment that day, I wouldn't be here right now. So thank you very much, Sergeant Major Hutt. Gene Randolph, Mark Thomas, Matt Morrow, Frank Russell, Terry Porterfield, Rick Beatles, Big First Sergeant Chuck Nickey. Those guys were like the old guys when I walked in, and I think I was their same age, which is weird, because when I got recruiting, I was 37 years old, but they were the old guys that I'm like, wait a minute, I'm as old as them. And they're like, yeah, but you don't look anything like them. So, you know, running and stuff like that. But they were some mean son of a bitches. They were those soldiers, that old school soldiers, that sometimes you need to be the old school soldier, and sometimes you need that in your life. Mike Reyes, Ray Green, Tom Bonner, Sabrina Eckmark, Joe Scheibe, some of these soldiers that I missed, I apologize, I'm still going now. Rob Scheibele, Brian Porter, Sandy Messenberg, then my Foxtrot homeboys. So I went out to Foxtrot, which I thought was a punishment, because I was voluntold to go there. My first time in my career, I declined a position, and they said, well, we're not asking you, we're telling you you're going to go to Foxtrot Company. And I'm like, so I'm going to go to Foxtrot Company, drive an hour, lose $400 of BAH money, and not get promoted? And they're like, right. And I'm like, no. They're like, yes. So I was forced to do it, and it actually turned out to be, honestly, probably the highlight of my career in recruiting. And I can truly say that. It was a smaller group, which for reasons the old, but I absolutely loved my time in Foxtrot Company, the respect that Sergeant Kester told these guys about me. And it's really not hard to look like a hero when you're replacing somebody that was not good. So that made it a lot easier, I think, because everything I tried to implement, they're like, that's an awesome idea, so that's awesome, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, why are you guys agreeing with me? They're like, as long as it's your decision and not his, we love it, that's great. So Sergeant Keck, Sergeant Hutton, Signer, Perez, Gillum, Brown, and of course Teddy, I loved you guys out in my time at Foxtrot. My team leaders when I came to Echo Company, Sergeant Heaton, Sergeant Hammond, I can't thank you enough for the leadership you gave me during that time and helping make my transition come to Echo Company a lot easier. The hardest part for me, guys, was the going from E7 to E8 and coming to Echo Company, and I was already, I think, inside my 2-year window to retire. And I've already got 30-some years of service. It's not like, oh man, I'll stick around. I'm the old guy, all right? I get it, I was the old guy. I came to Echo Company. I wanted to always be at Echo Company, and I hope the Echo Company people that are here, in my short time that I was here, I hope you saw glimpses of goodness, because I didn't have enough time to give you the full Jimmy Youngdahl experience is what I wanted to as an E8 NCOIC. I do believe Foxtrot Company, that I've got some of my best leadership time out there. Please silence phones. Please silence phones. His answer is, I'm retired. So, I love you, brother, man. I was a kid. Hey, I also had the best support staff, and I saw Major Hutt and others in this area already know that. When you have Don Query and Greg Mason in the office, shit's gonna get done. You may not like it, you may not like your answers, and then you get old school Don Query that's gonna lecture you on your military bearing or experience and stuff, and you didn't want to hear it. My God, he was right most of the time. So, and of course, the best IT guy in the state of Ohio, Steve Callahan. Thank you very much for all the help that you gave me for that time. Two things, Bob Kelly was my best friend. He enlisted like a year after I did, and so to serve with your best friend is an awesome experience in the same platoon and company. And of course, my daughter Taylor served for 7 years. A funny story, just real quick about her. So RSP, if you know RSP, we land-based soldiers we teach them discipline, right? Private, Muntean, or whole back in the day. But we instill discipline, right? We instill that in you so we get you ready for basic training. So it's my daughter, okay? My daughter is in this program. She, as a young girl, knew Sergeant Walker, Sergeant Solberger, Sergeant, all these. So she knew them as a young girl. Now she's old. She's in the guard. So she's at drill week, and we're on a break, and she is standing talking to a couple of the sergeants. Not a parade rest, not anything. So I come running around the corner, and I see her, and I'm like, "Hey, Private!" And then I saw it was her. And I was like, "Oh shit!" And I was like. And literally, I froze. I couldn't yell at her anymore. And Sergeant Solberg was right there. And he said, Sorry, Youngdahl, I got this. And I said, okay. And I walked down the hall, and I shook my head because I was like, how did I just freeze like that? And he lambasted her for 5 minutes, and I could hear him still yelling at her down the hallway. But it was just one of those funny moments that I remember from back in the day. But the number one person I want to thank right now, the number one person I want to thank is my recruiter. My recruiter, William Dave, Sergeant First Class Dave. Back in the day when nasty recruiters, their only job was one thing, get a number. You were nothing to them other than a number. So if it wasn't for him telling me to shut up about this, you don't need to talk about when you were 7, no, don't do this. I'm telling you, you would not be talking to me right now. And every one of you that have served or in your uniform right now, and you think of your recruiter, I'm telling you, think of that day you went there. Think of those 5 or 6 things that you were just like, oh shit, should I talk about this? And you remember what your recruiter counseled you and mentored you on, and you are here today because of that. Thank you, recruiter. Thank you, recruiter. I'm telling you, none of your careers, your badass drill sergeant, your badass special forces, those guys don't do that stuff unless it was for the recruiter. Day one, telling them and mentoring them and helping them across that finish line. Because us recruiters that have been in this a long time, I can think of at least 5 to 10 that should be sitting here, but they didn't listen to Sergeant Youngdahl, and they'll never be able to serve their country ever again because of one little tiny thing that they said that they shouldn't. So thank your recruiter, please. 79 Tango is the most important MLS in this entire military. Prove me wrong. I'm telling you, because if it's not for us, you don't have a career. It's like your mother. If your mother and father didn't, you wouldn't be there. So you at least need to thank them for that moment. Because if not, you are not alive because of them. So just the same with a recruiter, you absolutely should think of your recruiter. Yeah, I'm starting to do it. I'm starting to My counselor told me a long time ago, a short time ago, because of all my struggles, about friends and some of the stuff that was going on with me. You have friends for a reason, you have friends for a season, and then you have lifelong friends. And it's so true. I love Rob Shively. Rob Shively, for me, was mentored and helped me for his 1 year as an NCOIC, and I learned more from him than anyone. And then he left. And that was that friend for a season. He was here 1 year, he's not here at my ceremony today, but I still love him. I still cannot thank him enough for all of his things. Friends for a season, friends for a reason. Hey, I'm going through this stuff with Sergeant Teague stuff. Somebody approaches me, helps me out through it, and then I don't really talk to him again. That's friends for a reason. And then I have lifelong friends, and I have many lifelong friends that are sitting in this room right now. But last, I would like to thank my almost 220 soldiers that I recruited and the other 50 that I gave to other recruiters that are still in the system. I'm honored to be your recruiter and mentor, and I hope I represented you well. All right, before I end my session, go ahead, sir. All right, no, I'm not done yet. Before I end my session, though, does my brothers and sisters in this room right now have anything they want to say, blurt out? You're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't. Shut up, am I done yet? No. You guys really want to get the hell out of here, don't you?
Just saying. This Saturday.
No. Simple fun facts. I served in 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. Not too many people can say they've done that. And it's an honor to serve in every one of those eras and see stuff. I served under 7 presidents. I attended 393 drill weekends. I'm going to say that again, 393 drill weekends. You have 11 a year. I already can see, is it probably Valente? He's already going, holy crap, I'm only on like number 7 right now. 393 drill weekends. I extended and re-upped 8 times. Thank you, Sergeant Ocker. I enlisted almost 220 in about 8.5 years. That was almost 25 a year. ATAG 30 Club 2 times, almost 3 times if it wasn't for the shutdown. No, I did not get Chief 54, Sergeant Kester. I know you love to bring that up. My very first recruiting commander, sir, was John Harris. So I thought that's, he's still around, I think, isn't he? Or is he still... but I got a lot of fun facts, but the most thing that I am, beyond a shadow of a doubt, lucky to have all of you in my life. I can't thank you enough. How many did I have? Are you counting any of those cries or not?
3.
Are you shitting me?
3 is bad.
You count 3 too? No, it had been tears, and I'm like, that's crying.
You were close.
All right. I seriously though, I love every one of you guys. If you're still wearing this uniform, give the respect, and eventually it'll be seen. Eventually it'll happen. Eventually the goodness will come out. Eventually people will see the goodness in you. Your career is your career. Helping soldiers, for me, was my highlight. It wasn't to get promoted, it wasn't any of this stuff, it was all that. So thank you guys very much. And the last thing I'm going to say is a quote from Robin Williams. I don't know how much value I have in this universe, but I do know I made a few people happier than they would have been without me. As long as I know that, then I'm as rich as I ever need to be. Thank you, everyone. Master Sergeant James Youngdahl out.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. You're all invited to come forward to offer your